This is the Short and Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
So here we go. Yabba 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 doo.
This is the Mikedjkelly podcast.
Mikedjkelly.
It's all here in the brand new Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast. Are you ready? The louder you shout, the faster we go. Hold on tight and we'll make it through that sneaky storm Babette with our Teresa Coffee sponsored see-through, foldable, tie under the chin plastic rain bonnets.
On this week's podcast,
So stand by as we let rip with stories about Joolz Denby, exams, airlines, radio stations, the King, Prete A Manger, Professor Frank McDonough at FXMC 1957, fake showbusiness news, Joyce the assistant, charities, competitions, and a whole lot more.
this is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
I see Australian multi-billionaire Anthony Pratt was not allowed to give any money to the then Prince Charles in case it tarnished his image on the way to becoming king. What I say is, Anthony Pratt, send a suitcase full over here. KC does not need it.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Good morning, Mr. Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
Morning, Joyce. This is early for you.
I know, I thought I would set off early to get some horse chestnuts, conkers to you and me. Storm Babette has blown them all down. I have got a big bag full. Have you got any, Mr. Mike?
Yes, I collect them as I walk the dog.
Mr. Mike, let me have a look at the size of your conkers.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
Mr. Mike, did I hear you mention the king? Why is he in the news? Didn't he die on the 16th of August, 1977, at his Graceland estate in Memphis, Tennessee, at the age of 42?
That's a different king.
You are kidding me. There's more than one king. Does he have impersonators like Elvis does, or is he unique and one of a kind?
Yes, I think we could say that.
Does he do the king's songs, like in the Ghetto and Jailhouse Rock?
Not sure that they are his kind of thing.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
And on radio, I've been listening in and out to BBC local radio and can't believe how bad it's become following the recent changes. It's now become entertaining because it's so bad. My station of choice, Boom Radio, aimed at the ageing generation of baby boomers, is scaring me a bit at the moment by the amount of charities advertising and asking me to leave them money in my will. Alzheimer's, RSPCA, RNLI, to name but a few. A bit more concerning was an advert for the over 50s Saga Cruises, followed by an appeal for the RNLI lifeboats.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Don't forget, pod pickers, if you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us, and if you have any stories, gossips, or jokes, or anything for the next episode, go to @MikeKellyDisco on social media sites.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
Oh yes, and I have learnt something new since we were last here. I know that Tom Bell, the legendary highwayman from Hardcastle Crag, used to wear his shoes back to front so that people following him would go the wrong way. And yes, I know all about Simon Armitage OBE stanza stones. Google it, it's very interesting. And yes, my local curry house of choice, Bengal Brasserie on Haddon Road in the Burley area of Leeds, has been crowned Best in Country at Curry Life Awards 2023.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Today's easier than last time's easy peasy music competition. Guess the song or the artiste that these words come from. If you've got a problem, don't care what it is, if you need a hand, I can assure you this. Name the song or the artiste, or even better, both.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
What has happened to all the old World War II mines that used to be on the seaside promenades? Where have they all gone? And in airport and airline news, Leicester band EasyLife are not allowed to use the name after EasyJet launched legal action to force them to change their name. London Luton Airport has been in the news following that fire that damaged hundreds of cars. But shouldn't it be in the news for being called London Luton Airport instead of Luton Airport, as the two places are 34 miles apart?
This is the Shorter Than Short McKelly podcast.
Bernie Ecclestone, ex-F1 boss, pleads guilty to fraud after failing to report £400 million of overseas assets to HMRC and receives a suspended sentence as England and Wales judges told not to jail criminals as the prisons are full. Do you remember the IPP sentences? The imprisonment for public protection sentence that was a form of indeterminate sentence introduced by Section 225 of the Criminal Justice Act 2003 by the then Home Secretary David Blunkett, where people can be kept in prison forever for minor one-off crimes like stealing a mobile phone. Maybe if IPP prisoners were released, there would be a bit of space for big-time crooks like Bernie and Boris. The government plans to put your passport photo on a giant facial recognition database to stop shoplifting. Not one to look for flaws, but as a lot of these crimes are committed by homeless people who probably do not have a passport, not sure that it will work. And that's not a dig at homeless people who are desperate for food and do not get enough from the state.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
If you're new to the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast show, you can get to hear all previous episodes just by searching or shouting the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Out there on the social media sites, Tory clowns. The Tories spent £25 million on a national emergency alert system, yet during Storm Babette, 7 people have died and 0 alerts have been sent, which makes you wonder what was the point and where did the £25 million go? Blade of the Sun. HMRC moved into offices owned by a Tory donor registered in a tax haven. So HMRC is paying rent money to a tax avoider. HMRC enables tax evasion. That's the Conservative way. John Connell, fun fact, in 1966, Labour PM Harold Wilson agreed to NHS staff getting a 30% pay rise to combat inflation. He said, "We can't risk losing our best doctors, nurses and dentists to the private sector. Now compare this great British leader to Sunak and vote accordingly." Paul Lewis, "They are your own bed, in fact, which is virtually in a hospital. But you pay for the heating, lighting, running equipment and the food. Oh, and there's no nursing staff or doctors. Apart from that..." Sheena, "I visited a garden centre earlier and noticed a kid wearing red corduroy trousers. I gave him the number for Childline and reassured him that no one should be forced to dress like a Tory." Another from Sheena, "Me, do you have any crisps?" Them, "Sure. Is smoked pheasant and wild mushroom flavour okay?"
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Professor Frank McDonough at FXMC1957. October 2004, radio DJ John Peel died suddenly from a heart attack aged 65. He was a champion of new rock talent, especially acts outside the traditional commercial mainstream. He was also the longest serving of the original BBC Radio 1 DJs, broadcasting from 1967 to 2004. October 1961, the first edition of the satirical and current affairs news magazine Private Eye was published, and it became well known for its criticism and lampooning of public figures and for its in-depth investigative journalism. October 1942, leading British actor Bob Hoskins was born in Bury St Edmunds. He rose to major fame in the classic Dennis Potter BBC TV drama series Pennies from Heaven, before starring in many films such as Long Good Friday, Mona Lisa and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. October 1939, John Cleese was born in Weston-super-Mare. He co-founded Monty Python, the comedy group responsible for the cult sketch show Monty Python's Flying Circus and its subsequent offshoot films. He also wrote and co-starred in the British classic BBC sitcom Fawlty Towers. October 1929, all of London buses began to be painted predominantly red. In fact, the bus roofs remained largely white or silver to reflect sunlight and thereby reduce heating in the summer. October 1881, the gunfight at the OK Corral took place in Tombstone, Arizona. It was part of a feud between rival cowboy groups resulting in 3 deaths. Order was maintained by the intervention of local police, most notably Wyatt Earp, but it did not resolve the feud.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Today's do-gooders can be found at redcross.org.uk. For the past 150 years, they have put kindness into action. The British Red Cross has been helping millions of people in the UK and around the world get the support they need when crisis strikes. UK volunteers and staff are guided by 7 fundamental principles of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent movement. We help anyone, anywhere in the UK and around the world get the support they need if crisis strikes. Find out all you need to know at redcross.org.uk.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
And in fake showbiz news, Dame Rachel Stevens says next time you eat out, instead of paying £8 for an underwhelming cheesecake, why not buy a £5 tub of Cadbury Heroes on the way home and then nail the lot? Billy Piper says, isn't it funny how the British public loves anyone called David? David Beckham, David Jason, Sir David Attenborough, David Gray, the list is endless, she said. The UN says it's becoming increasingly concerned that ongoing conflicts could result in Lad Baby bringing out a Christmas single called Give Mushy Peas a Chance. Government asked casualty producers to include more scenes showing characters enjoying huge savings with their blue light card to encourage more people to work in healthcare. Pub quiz phone cheats to face prison sentences of up to 15 years if Labour wins the next general election, Sir Keir Starmer announces. Easy Life announced their new name will be Stelios Poo Poo Pants.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mikedjkelly.
Guess the celebrity, born on the 22nd of November 1940 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is an American-British-born screenwriter, film director, animator, actor, comedian and former member of the Monty Python comedy troupe. He has directed 13 feature films including Time Bandits, Brazil, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, The Only Python Not Born in Britain. He became a naturalised British subject in 1968 and formally renounced his American citizenship in 2006. He started his career as an animator and strip cartoonist. He joined Monty Python as the animator of their works, but eventually became a full member and was given acting roles. Who is he?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mikedjkelly podcast.
Hi Joyce, how's it going?
It's okay, but my right hand is aching.
Why? What have you been doing? Is it anything you can talk about?
Yes, sure. I have just been down the local KFC and everybody in there was shaking my hand. Have you not seen the telly advert? So Mr. Podcast Short Mikedjkelly, what are your aspirations? What's top of your bucket list?
To get the gardening done and cut the lawn. Bigger things to go on a worldwide holiday using buses and trains instead of planes, and to get people to listen to this podcast. So come on Joyce, what's top of your bucket list?
I'd like to be the first female to have a baby on the moon. I know it will take a bit of planning. I have already written to NASA and Richard Branson to see if I can be part of their space program. Oh, and I need to get a boyfriend. Can I use this podcast to ask any suitable males to get in touch? If they can send me their photo and CV, that will do for now.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Short and Short podcast for you. Here at the Eddie Eagle Space Centre, we're recruiting for couples to be part of our social experiment and live in space for 3 months at one of our orbiting space stations. You'll be paid well to take part, as the whole experiment will be filmed in a I'm a Celebrity in the Jungle type show with Anton Deck and Captain Kremen as hosts. Want to take part? Send your details, including a copy of your Duke of Edinburgh certificate, proof that you can swim and have been on a first aid course recently. Send your info to Eddie the Eagle Space Centre, Don Kennel Lane, Hills Owen, and we'll get straight back to you if you're one of our successful lucky candidates.
This is the Short and Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
More from the social media sites. Farouk, man in pink tie. The scrapping of a cap on bankers' bonuses is described as one of the freedoms of Brexit. As someone who lives in a relatively impoverished part of Britain, that the benefits of Brexit involve the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. BBC QT. Andrew Willoughby, I found Boom Radio UK 2 months ago and it's now my daily listen. It's everything the BBC Radio 2 should and could be, but isn't. At Boom Radio UK, music for the neglected generation. David Osland, so far this Parliament there have been more Tory MPs arrested for rape than voters convicted of electoral fraud. David Soul, right on. Let's say it over and over. Quote, a friend to me has no race, no class, and belongs to no minority. My friendships are formed out of affection, mutual respect, and feeling of having something in common. These are eternal values that cannot be classified. Frank Sinatra. Michael Rosen. There are MPs who object to the fact there are streets where people speak a language other than English. My mother and father grew up in streets like that. They both became teachers. My mother in a primary school, my father taught English. Joolz Denby. I'm the only woman and one of the very few artists to have decades-long art association with a rock band, designing 99% of their album and single covers and merchandise. This is an astonishing achievement, and I'm proud to say continues with the new album.
This is the Short and Short Mike Kelly podcast.
In the late news, Prete A Manger now selling a £7.15 cheese and pickle sandwich. King Jong disappears from public view amid rumours of a cheese overload. Is it time the Lenore Dream Team made some new adverts? Is Dr. Octa a professional pizza maker or a doctor? Private schools replacing General Certificate of Secondary Education GCSEs with their own easier exams, as state pupils are getting better results than the privately educated darlings. The voluntary real living wage is now £12 an hour and £13.50 in London. Greta Thunberg arrested by Met Police while protesting with Fossil-Free London outside the Intercontinental Hotel. Hello. French bedbugs making their way to seats on London transport. 6 high-rise blocks in Leeds to be demolished as council cannot afford to refurbish.
This is the Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
If you want to get in touch with this top-rated and sometimes much listened to podcast, please contact at Mike Kelly Disco on social media sites. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer or presentation, travel news or voice-over work, please do get in touch. Please tell your friends about the podcast. All they need to do to find it is search on Google for the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Okay, it's time to go. Name the song or the artiste. If you've got a problem, don't care what it is. If you need a hand, I can assure you this. Name the song or the artiste or both. It was Billy Swan and the song I Can Help. Guess the celebrity, born on the 22nd of November 1940 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He is an American-born British screenwriter, film director, animator, actor, comedian and former member of the Monty Python comedy troupe. He has directed 13 feature films including Time Bandits, Brazil, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, and The Only Python Not Born in Britain. He became a naturalised British subject in 1968 and formally renounced his American citizenship in 2006. He started his career as an animator and strip cartoonist. He joined Monty Python as the animator of their works, but eventually became a full member and was given acting roles. Who is he? Terry Gilliam. Today's do-gooders are redcross.org.uk. Guess what? That's enough for this edition of the Crazy Shorter Than Short podcast show from me, Mike Kelly.
And me, Joyce.
Thank you for listening. Please take care out there, and remember you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting the Mikedjkelly Shorter Than Short podcast show, and a few of those catchy advertising bullet lines to see you on your way. This is the UK's favourite over 50s podcast. We are doing everything possible to give you value every day. And remember, this meeting never took place.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Mike Kelly.